Crimes fueled by strong emotions like passion, jealousy, or hatred can be some of the most violent and cruel. These types of crimes often involve people harming others, and they usually leave little room for the victim to escape. It's important to note that these acts of violence can be committed by anyone, not just men. Women can also be just as cruel and heartless. Experienced detectives can often spot the signs and patterns of crimes driven by intense emotions like hatred or passion. However, every situation must be carefully examined, starting with what a potential witness might say about it. In the case of a brutal attack on a mother of several children, named Simakan, there were many questions from the start. Initially, it was believed that a strong man had caused her death due to the severe injuries she suffered. Since the victim was of Pakistani descent, many people thought that her death might have been an honor killing, possibly carried out by relatives to protect the family's reputation. But the truth turned out to be much more shocking and ultimately shattered the once happy KH family. Relatives were indeed involved, but so were feelings of passion and a long-kept secret. The KH family originally came from Pakistan and moved to the UK in the early 1980s, hoping for a better life. They settled in Luton, which is about 50 miles from London. In 1982, the couple welcomed their first child, a daughter named SAA. 7 years later, in 1989, they had their second daughter, Saba, followed by two long-awaited sons. From a young age, Seema, the eldest daughter, became a big help to her parents, who worked hard to provide for the family. She took care of her younger siblings, kept the house tidy, cooked meals, and still managed to excel in her studies, becoming one of the top students in her class. The parents ran a small business that allowed them to live in a nice neighborhood in a spacious townhouse. In a Muslim family, raising children is very important. The KH couple raised their kids according to Islamic traditions while also encouraging them to get a good education. The daughters and sons took pride in their culture and customs, but they were also open to new ideas and had the freedom to choose their own careers. Seema and Saba were sisters who had always been very close, sharing secrets and supporting each other through everything. Growing up, they were fluent in English and Dutch since they had lived in Amsterdam for a few years. Both girls were great students and made their parents proud. Seema was kind and caring and chose to study medicine. After high school, she graduated from medical school in 2003 and worked as a nurse in a local hospital. Later, she switched to being a caregiver so she could manage her own schedule, allowing her to take care of her younger siblings. Sabah looked up to her older sister and tried to follow her example. Their bond remained strong even as they grew older. When Seema turned 22, her parents began to think about arranging her marriage, as is traditional in Pakistani culture. Although she grew up in Europe, where things were more modern, Seema respected her cultural traditions and agreed to marry a man her parents would choose, even though she hadn't met him yet. Arranged marriages are common in Pakistan, sometimes even between relatives, as a way to help the groom gain citizenship in another country. After some time, Seema's relatives chose Hafiz, a man 3 years older than her who lived in Pakistan. Hafiz was described as calm and responsible, and his parents hoped he would have a better life in Europe. When the families agreed, they organized a large wedding in Pakistan with over 200 guests. Afterwards, Seema returned to Luton, UK, to arrange a marriage visa for Hafiz so he could join her. In 2008, after the visa process, Hafiz moved to the UK. Seema was 26 and Hafiz was 29. They lived in a spacious family home with her younger siblings. Hafiz soon started working as a taxi driver. At first, he didn't want Seema to work, hoping she would focus on family life. But Seema, who valued her independence, insisted on working, and Hafiz respected her choice. Over the years, Seema and Hafiz welcomed 4 children, a daughter in 2009, a son 3 years later, another son 2 years after that, and a second daughter in 2015. Seema managed both work and motherhood well, with her sister Sabah often helping to care for the children when everyone was busy. However, beneath this seemingly happy family life, a hidden problem was growing. Sabah, the younger sister, developed feelings for Hafiz shortly after he moved in. At 18, she admired him deeply, finding him gentle, supportive, and respectful of her sister. She began showing her affection through subtle glances and smiles, which Hafiz noticed. He was flattered, but didn't react at first. This continued for 2 years, but after Seema became fully occupied with their newborn daughter, Hafiz crossed the line and began a secret relationship with Sabah. Despite being against Islamic traditions and ethical norms, he convinced himself he could care for both women. For a while, he even thought of taking Sabah as a second wife, but he quickly realized that marrying sisters was not allowed by tradition or morality. Hafiz and Sabah's relationship, though passionate, was kept secret because it was considered wrong, especially as he was married to her sister. To avoid suspicion, they limited how much they interacted in front of family, but they often exchanged secret messages about their feelings and planned times to meet. Their encounters would happen in Hafiz's car, or sometimes even in his bedroom when no one else was home. Hafiz adjusted his schedule so they could meet without the risk of being caught. As time went by, Sabah started wanting more attention and grew jealous of Hafiz's relationship with her sister. When her parents began discussing marriage for Sabah, she protested, saying she wanted more time to study like her sister. Reluctantly, her parents agreed to postpone the search for a husband. However, in 2014, while her sister Seema was expecting her 4th child with Hafiz, Sabah discovered she was pregnant as well. She told Hafiz, but he panicked, fearing the scandal it would bring if their secret was revealed. Hafiz insisted that she end the pregnancy to avoid destroying his marriage and family reputation. Although she agreed, Sabah was devastated by the decision and the risk it posed to her health. She even suggested they run away together, but Hafiz refused, unwilling to leave his wife and children. After the pregnancy was terminated, Hafiz grew distant, afraid of the consequences of their relationship continuing. Meanwhile, Sabah's guilt and sadness grew. She found herself obsessively texting Hafiz, sometimes declaring her love, and other times threatening to reveal their secret. She was desperate, feeling that Hafiz was slipping away. By early 2016, during a family discussion, Hafiz mentioned that he planned to move out with his wife and children, as the house was becoming crowded. This sent Sabah into a spiral of jealousy, fearing she was losing Hafiz to her sister for good. Driven by her emotions, Sabah convinced herself that the only way to keep Hafiz was if her sister was no longer around. She started researching ways to make Seema's death look like an accident, considering poisonous creatures or dangerous substances, but each option seemed risky. Then she discovered a website offering magical services, including curses, which promised to bring harm or death to others. This option intrigued her, and she decided this might be her chance to get rid of her sister and finally have Hafiz to herself. In early April 2016, Sabah reached out to a sorcerer, desperate to harm her sister Seema. Sabah sent the sorcerer photos and personal items of her sister, believing they were needed for a deadly black magic ritual. She even transferred $77,000, savings she'd collected over the years, to the account he provided. But as expected, the ritual had no effect, and Seema remained healthy. In fact, Seema and her husband were planning to move into a new home. As Sabah's plan failed, she fell into despair and tried to contact the sorcerer again. But he stopped responding after taking her money. With time running out and the pressure mounting, Sabah considered hiring a hitman. However, she was broke after paying the sorcerer and feared getting caught. Feeling like she was out of options, Sabah decided to carry out her plan herself. She researched online and devised a plan to stage a robbery, intending to make it look like Seema was the victim of a break-in gone wrong. One day, tragic news arrived about the death of a relative in another city. Most of Sabah's family, including her parents and brothers, left town to attend the funeral, leaving Seema, Sabah, and a few young children at home. Recognizing this as her only chance, Sabah went to a nearby store, bought a large kitchen knife, and hid it in her room, preparing to act. On the morning of May 23, 2016, most of the family left for the funeral, planning to return late. Seema went to work, leaving Sabah at home with the children. Sabah then set her plan in motion. That night, she called Seema, pretending that one of the children was sick, prompting Seema to leave work early and rush home. Around 10 p.m., Seema arrived at the house. As soon as she entered, Sabah attacked her from behind, delivering fatal blows. The attack was brutal and relentless. Although Seema likely didn't see her attacker, the initial wounds were enough to end her life quickly. Despite this, Saba continued stabbing her sister. Neighbors heard some noise, but it quieted down quickly, and no one called the police. Saba's niece briefly woke up and, concerned, called out, but Saba told her to go back to bed. After the attack, Saba cleaned up, removed her blood-soaked clothes, and hid them along with the knife and some stolen jewelry to make it look like a burglary. She then staged the scene by breaking a window and later called the police, reporting her sister's death. When police arrived, they found Seema's body with 68 stab wounds, concentrated on her neck, face, and chest. The brutality of the crime indicated a personal motive. During questioning, Saba showed little sadness and even suggested that Seema had a secret lover, implying that he might be responsible. Saba's calm behavior and rehearsed story raised suspicions among investigators, who now wondered if she was trying to tarnish Seema's reputation as part of a cover-up. The detectives needed solid proof to solve the case, so they took the Khan family's home computer and checked the phones of all family members. This search led to a major discovery. They found undeniable evidence and a motive behind the tragic crime. By recovering deleted messages from Saba and Hafiz's phones, they learned about a long-term secret relationship between the two. In these messages, Saba expressed her deep love for Hafiz, her sister's husband, often saying she couldn't live without him and arranging meetups. Hafiz responded warmly at first, but in recent months, he asked her to leave him alone and said their relationship was over. They also found out that Saba had been pregnant with Hafiz's child, but she ended the pregnancy at his request. Further searches on the home computer showed that Saba had been looking up ways to harm her sister over the past 6 months. She even tried placing a deadly curse on her sister, but eventually decided to handle things herself. Surveillance footage from a nearby supermarket showed Saba buying a knife the day before the crime, likely the weapon used. During a detailed search of the house, investigators found a hidden bundle in Saba's room. Inside, they discovered her blood-stained clothes, the knife, and her sister's missing jewelry. On May 31, 2016, 8 days after the crime, Saba Khan was arrested. Her family was in shock, unable to believe that such intense feelings had been hidden for so long. Their son-in-law had essentially been living with both sisters for 4 years, and they couldn't understand how Saba could take her sister's life. Saba's trial began in October 2017. She claimed that Hafiz had taken advantage of her and manipulated her feelings, which led her to this tragic decision. Hafiz denied her claims and blamed Saba, saying she had pursued him. Throughout the trial, Saba admitted to planning the attack on her sister, but showed no remorse. She remained calm and detached. In the end, she was sentenced to life imprisonment with a chance for parole after at least 25 years. Now, she is serving her sentence in a correctional facility in Bedfordshire. In the end, this tragedy serves as a dark reminder of how hidden emotions, unspoken desires, and betrayal can spiral into unimaginable violence. The heartbreaking story of Saba and Seema Khan reveals how even the closest family ties can break under the weight of envy and forbidden love. The shocking details in this case challenge us to recognize the impact that jealousy and deceit can have on our lives and those we love. Perhaps the most haunting question left unanswered is, what if someone had noticed the warning signs sooner? As we conclude this story, we hope it reminds each of us of the importance of open, honest communication and the need for support when emotions threaten to overwhelm us. Remember to stay alert to signs of emotional turmoil in those around you. It could make all the difference. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more stories that reveal the truth behind the shadows.